My name is Allison Leilani Carter. I'm 28 years old, and this is the truth about all of us. She would scream and she would try to reopen them. I'd wake up in pain and I didn't know why. And then one day I didn't take my medicine. And the nurses came in our room and they were talking over our bed about changing the charts. About nobody would believe the kids because they're already crazy. They took pictures after they took her clothes off. And when they came to my bed, I started fighting. They threw me in solitary confinement for a week.
Supernatural abilities, survivors that can do things like you see on TV, like you see in the movies. That's MK Ultra.
Thousands of government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. The goal was to understand the effects of radiation exposure on the human body. While most of the tests were ethical by any standards, some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted. They failed both the test of our national values and the test of humanity. Informed consent means your doctor tells you the risk of the treatment you are about to undergo. In too many cases, informed consent was withheld. Americans were kept in the dark about the effects of what was being done to them. The deception extended beyond the test subjects themselves to encompass their families and the American people as a whole. For these experiments were kept secret, and they were shrouded not for a compelling reason of national security, but for the simple fear of embarrassment, and that was wrong. So today, on behalf of another generation of American leaders and another generation of American citizens, the United States of America offers a sincere apology to those of our citizens who were subjected to these experiments, to their families, and to their communities. When the government does wrong, we have a moral responsibility to admit it. The duty we owe to one another to tell the truth and to protect our fellow citizens from excesses like these is one we can never walk away from.
It's been a heck of a ride, to be honest. I really can't complain. I was kind of, I was a little down. I found out I was injured and I had to have surgery again, or with another knee. But at the end of the day, I have amazing teammates. Guys like Draymond, everybody on this team, they come over there, they wrap their hands around me like, yo, we got.
I feel very, I feel nervous, a little bit overwhelmed. I feel a little shaky. I don't know what's wrong with me. No, but it's good. It's good. You guys get it. It's a good shit. Look great. I feel a little shaky. I don't know what's wrong with me. No, but it's good. You guys.
So was that the great Rick Rubin who was helping produce that with you, Marshall, when you did that?
Yeah, sorry. Live TV. Live TV freaks me out a little bit.
No.
Yes, I'm sorry. What was the question?
How I knew that Joe Biden was going to win because of trauma-based mind control programming. Things that were done to me since I was 3 months old. I can do things that normal people can't do because of those things. And nobody wanted me to tell the truth. So they put me in foster care.
social worker from the county came out and opened a case for Allie. The social workers had changed a couple times while she was at the shelter. At one point, a new social worker came. In social work, they will dispatch somebody to come out and initially assess the kid and take the paperwork, take the report. That's their job. When that part's done, then they hand that off to another social worker. So a new social worker will come out after that. There's a really high turnover rate of social workers for kids. They change frequently. So the second social worker came out. By this time, Allie had a pretty thick folder. They had information. I don't know where they got that information. But that social worker was very prejudiced toward Allie. She had not met Allie yet. She had not spoken to her once. But she told me and she told the other the other counselor, that Allie was oppositional defiant, that she was a troubled child, and she already basically had an opinion made up of who Allie was.
The first home, I thought everything was going to be fine. I lived in a home in Fontana, California. And I lived with a 16-year-old boy, a mom, and a baby that was no more than a year or two old. 2 foster sisters. And my 2 foster sisters ended up leaving. But one of them was having sex with the foster brother before she left. So when she left, I was the only one there. He started coming in my room. I called my mentor. I told her the truth. They moved me from that home. And from there, I lost count of how many foster homes and group homes I've been in. I went to 19 high schools in 1 year. Never stayed anywhere longer than 2 weeks. Never stayed anywhere longer than a month. My social workers knew what was happening, but instead of wanting to make an extra report or having to make an extra report, they just kept moving me. They wanted to collect the check because I was a high-risk kid. I was a high-risk kid for court. I was a high-risk kid for foster homes, and eventually I ended up in group homes. I went from level 5, which is basically like a foster home, to level 14, which is lockdown. You can't stand up or sit down without asking for permission. You can't go to the bathroom unless you ask for permission. You can't leave your room, and you have medicine that you have to take no matter what.
The tactic they use to silence people, to keep control of the situation, to get people to look the other way. CPS is very corrupt, and it needs to be defunded. It's very evil what they do. They can remove children from any of your homes for any reason. It's irrelevant whether you're a good parent or a bad parent. If CPS wants to traffic your kid, they can come in and take your kid, and you really won't have a leg to stand on. CPS has no checks and balances. They don't have any oversight. The ombudsman of your state is supposed to be the checks and balances, but the ombudsman's usually corrupt as well. There's nobody that CPS answers to. They work with the Freemason Brotherhood police. When they come to your door, they can take your kid, and they'll usually bring the police with them to do it. They work with corrupt judges that are also Freemasons. When I was fighting for Allie when she was in CPS care, I went to the ombudsman for help. The ombudsman took our information. We met face-to-face in Riverside, California. When the ombudsman went back to Sacramento, where she was from, told me to message her within a week. I did message her within a week, and I didn't get a response. Shortly after that, I tried calling, and she had retired. That's just how things work in a corrupt system. So it wasn't too long before the social workers were not really happy with me, where they were allowing me to have visits with her, so I could take her for a soda, take her for an ice cream, whatever. They stopped that, and then they turned on me, said I was a predator, they put it into a fake court order that I was not allowed to contact her. But Allie kept contacting me, telling me, hey, this is what's going on. Can you help me? And I was bound by duty to do the right thing. Even though I was being threatened by CPS, I chose to do the right thing.
Before anybody knew the truth, I blended well. I was a competitive dance teacher, a cheer coach, a special needs dance teacher, a mentor, a college student, and so much more.
Thank you, Ellie, on three. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Ellie. You're welcome.
The second time I seen him was at his home in Las Vegas, Nevada. Everybody thinks he faked his death. He's not dead. There was many things that happened, and he got set up for a little bit to still be able to live his life and still be in the public eye. He's still making music. He's still collabing with other artists to this day. But the second time that I seen him was at his home in Las Vegas. And there was another funeral. And then next time I seen him was during a time where somebody wasn't watching little Tori. And there was a lot of things that were happening. Money exchanging hands, Social Security's being brought and sold, led to a fight. And it led to a man's body being mutilated. Nobody was watching little Tori around that time. About what really happened. Who really seen it? I had to go to a very elite party in Hollywood, California. And guess who I met? It was really weird. At first, I thought I was tripping. But no. Around that time, Unthinkable with Alicia Keys came out. It was around the time that I seen him again. And he did a collab with Alicia Keys. And people thought that was just machines and, you know, people have that power to just completely use that voice all over again. No. Sounded like he was right there, wasn't it? He is. And I'm sure now he won't be able to take this information getting out there, because when you fake your death, you really want to escape from the truth and all the secrets that you have. You escape from the fact that you may be a killer and a pedophile. You escape from the fact that when you sold your soul, you might have sold your child. He's not dead. A lot of people have been lying to you. You don't live in the world you think you do.
I mean, he hasn't been spotted with us. I mean, my thing is, if that motherfucker, I mean, if he my man, so if he wanted people think that he's alive, then I'm gonna help him with that kind of shit. I've never seen him dead. I didn't go to no funeral. We didn't parade his body around the streets like everybody else. Like, you know, I mean, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I really don't, you know, I don't pay no attention to that shit. You probably do be seeing him, but his plan is working to fucking perfection. Nobody's gonna believe that's him after all this time. Everybody is gonna be paying attention to whatever they're paying attention to. You can say I saw Tupac at Walmart, and everybody gonna be like, oh yeah, it was a lookalike.
If you think about it, right?
Right.
Why you think nobody been arrested if they said they didn't want to kill Tupac?
Because they're snitching to the police, so they ain't
Not
gonna get
just
arrested.
to snitch and be smart, son. Because Tupac not
I ain't
dead.
as smart as you showed me.
Tupac not dead. He was dead. They'll be arresting those dudes for murder. You know he's somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar on the island somewhere.
right now.
His code name was Machiavelli, like mine is Simon. If you know the story of Machiavelli, he faked his own death. But at the same time, you know, they want to put Pac back in prison. Pac would fake his own death to disappear before he go back to prison.
My former name was Tori Outlaw, and Tori's dead now. After I was adopted and after healing a little bit, I became a dance teacher. I was a dancer myself, training all over again, learning what it was like to be normal and to just go into a studio and do something because you wanted to do it, until they found me again. Dance to me has always been a therapy and a release, because it was always something evil for me. So I turned it around, and I love to watch someone just get something and ace something that they thought they never could do, or be someone they thought they never could be, just for an hour.
I went to a community college for like 10 years. So when y'all met us, I was still in chemistry class. A lot of y'all met us in CPR class. And so that's where 90s and 10s comes from, because there's 100% of the world that knows that something's wrong, but there's 90% that would rather not stick their heads back in the sand. They're actually doing the research. They're trying to figure it out. They're the ones being called conspiracy theorists, but they're the ones saving your lives. But the 10s, it's an easier way to say asshole. 10s are the ones who decide to stick their heads back in the sand. 50s ain't nifty, and that's the ones who have feet on both sides. The 70s are trying to learn. I know that doesn't make sense, but it was just because I was stuck in chemistry class and it was a lot going on at the same time. A lot of you guys seen that on Lonnie's Truth when someone walked into tried to come into our rental, and I was taking my chemistry test and I failed with those last two questions because of that. School has been hell. During foster care, I was going to RCC for a little bit, and someone had within the school had mixed my units with another foster kids unit. So I was taking her classes that I was needed to graduate, and she was taking mine. I've gotten threats at the school. I was going to Norco College for a little bit, which was Norco Community College in California, which was down the street from one of my ex-pimps, the whole family. And so one day I was going to math class, which is why I ended up taking math so many times, because I was going to math class. I mean, the school knew I was a part of the Disabled Student Services with my PTSD and the things that I've been through in trafficking. So the school knew about things, but when I started getting threats in the bathroom at the schools, and the security couldn't do much because it's a public school. So then I was never alone. So school has always been really, really hard, but I've always loved to go. And I mean, we're really good at it. I mean, it depends on who's taking class. That's the thing, because DID problems as well with school. Like, one of us could take the class and the other one could do the homework. And then if I tried to go take one of their classes, it won't work because I don't know what's going on. And it's a lot. School was a lot. And I'd give anything to be able to just go back and just to go peacefully. School is not the issue in general. We do great in school. Mom helps us with that, and we do great in school. We smart. Pretty smart. I'm really smart. But it's always the threats and the problems and the things that happen at school. I had this one professor who told me to call him God because he knew about my record, and because I wouldn't call him God, then he was really upset. It was a teacher that wasn't even from the country, so he didn't have any respect for Americans, especially black girls. It was just the whole thing. So he embarrassed me in front of the whole class because I said something. And then my high school teachers, when I went to Carter High School, they made fun of the fact that I was a foster kid, which some of them were some of my clients. It was a lot. School was just a lot. I wish that I could just be at peace at school. Nothing more.
Well, a lot of times they're programmed to have problems in school anyway. That's part of MK Ultra programming. They don't want them to succeed. A lot of things come into play. It's not just, I'm not a good student, or I'm having a hard time. There's like layers upon layers of so many things on top of that.
And on top of that, I've been called illiterate all my life. I've been told that I don't know anything, and I'm supposed to play stupid because you're just not supposed to know anything more than your pimp. You're supposed to just give them that satisfaction all the time. So, nah, I'm really smart.
Hi, I'm Allie's mom, Shelly. When Allie was finally placed with me, when CPS finally relented and let her be placed with me, I was seeing a lot of things that I've never seen before. I've worked with a lot of troubled kids, a lot of kids that needed help, a lot of disabled kids, just all different kind of kids. But I never saw the behaviors that I was witnessing with Allie. She would be up all night. She was not able to sleep. She would barricade her door to her room. If somebody slammed the door too hard, if somebody dropped a book, she would jump. Her startle reflex was so exaggerated. I knew something was wrong. I was still trying to piece things together. I knew she had been beaten. I knew there was some sexual abuse. I didn't realize the extent of all the abuse. Didn't know anything about sex trafficking at that time. Didn't know anything about MK Ultra. I did know a little bit about satanic ritual abuse, but I didn't know that was a thing in this situation, and I didn't know how that would even fit into the situation. I knew about DID, wasn't piecing that together quite yet. I was just seeing a kid with a lot of trauma When she finally was placed with me, and I started seeing that there was sexual abuse and that there was trauma, I thought that was my green light. I thought God brought her into my life to seek justice for her, meaning to stand with her while we brought down every pedophile that had harmed her. I thought that was what God was wanting me to do at that time. He checked me really fast. That wasn't what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to provide a peaceful home for her, to give her normal experiences, to give her the opportunity to heal. I didn't mind doing that, but I really wanted to go after the pedophiles and the people that hurt her. So it took me a minute to be okay with just being at peace with providing her a safe home. I'm like most of you guys, I'm like everybody else. We want justice. We don't like people hurting children, and we want to be part of the justice for that. But that wasn't the avenue God was going to have me go down.
That day, it was so crazy. I'm a dance teacher, so the election really started to bother me. And I've seen so many of my predators and my abusers on TV and games and at concerts and all kind of things. And this bothered me different. It bothered me different. And I started going to trafficking marches in Los Angeles, California. I never knew they existed. I didn't know what I was doing there. I was abused in Los Angeles. I didn't know people knew about it. It was always something that was a secret. And one day we get down there and the streets are packed. There was signs and bullhorns everywhere. I used to sleep on Skid Row. I used to be homeless at a very young age, 11, 12 years old. I slept on the streets down there. I fought for spots. I ate out of the trash cans. I tried to hide.
With my other kids and with Allie, I did my best to provide a peaceful home for them, to give them normal experiences that they never had. I would take them places like the beach and the park and the fair and Disneyland and places like that. I would push them on the swings. We would just do normal things that most of them missed in their childhood. We would blow bubbles. Just anything to bring normalcy, to teach normalcy, to show what it was to do normal childhood things, to show what it was to live in a peaceful situation. So that became what my focus was for when she first came until now. We still do normal things.
And one day I just got out of the car because this woman, when I was down there at 11, 12 years old, this lady was so nice to me. Her name was Janae. And, everybody called her the Skid Row Angel. I was hungry. I was assaulted. My clothes are sticky. And she wasn't supposed to take me into the shelter. She wasn't supposed to open the door. She wasn't supposed to give me anything. But she gave me clean sweats and snacks and these little white packets with aluminum foil on the inside. It wasn't what she gave me. It was the fact that she cared. And I would never forget those little gummy packages. So one day I wanted to go back and thank her because she cared about the kids on Skid Row. There are many thousands of kids homeless on Skid Row. It's not just adults. And she knew where the kids were. She took care of the kids. Everybody knew that you could ask Miss Janae for something and she'd give it to you. And one day I just walked up to the shelter and I asked for her. When we went back there, someone told me she was still there. They thought they remembered her. So I went back one day to take her roses and just tell her thank you. But she wasn't there. And I felt like I was going to melt into the ground.
Every MK Ultra survivor has DID. That's just part of the programming. Not everybody that has DID has MK, but everybody that has MK has DID. It might take you a minute to wrap your head around that. It's kind of confusing, but for DID, DID is a safety valve, if you will, that God placed in us when something becomes too much or too unbearable. If you think of a small child, 2 years old, 3 years old, being sexually abused, it's too much information, it's too much trauma, it's too much pain, it's too much mental, emotional pain and trauma. When the mind gets to the point where it can't take anymore, if any more comes into them right then, it would make them just go crazy. So God instilled in us the ability to just break off that piece, and then a new piece of the psyche will come in and take the rest of that trauma from that experience. DID is pretty common. Contrary to popular belief, people that have had any kind of a trauma can have a form of DID. If you've been in a car accident, if you've lost a loved one, the shock to the system, if it's enough that experience or that trauma just caused you to shake uncontrollably, there's probably something going on in the psyche there. Your psyche is moving to protect you. DID can be as simple as daydreaming, kind of zoning out while you're on the freeway. That's mild, to full-blown alters. So it's kind of very common. And if you think about people that have had significant trauma, a lot of people have DID. Most of them are unaware. The MK Ultra is when they kind of weaponize the DID. They've learned how to purposely cause trauma to the body, cause trauma to the child, get their heart rate up enough to where the trauma is overwhelming and they split. During that moment of splitting, they move into program that part. They move into layer in demons and all kind of things. It's government experiments, scientific experiments that they're doing. They're doing it for a purpose. They're doing it on purpose, where DID is more kind of organic. Your house burns down. That's kind of out of your control. You get in a car accident and the shock of that is too much. That's out of your control. MK Ultra is done deliberately by government officials, by science. If you are listening to this right now, an hour ago, you might not have known what was going on, but you know now. And now you either stand and fight for the kids, you either realize that you are duty bound too, or you become complicit. And that's just what it is. You can't just sit on the couch. This is evil like nobody's ever seen. The depths of it are mind-boggling. You have to decide where you stand. But you can't just look away. There are very many people that are placed to keep you silent, to keep you in turmoil, to keep your programming intact. So please be careful. Be discerning. Survivors are the most brilliant, kindest people I know. If I had to face a gun battle, if I had to go to war, if I needed somebody to stand in my corner, I would take a MK Ultra survivor any day of the week. They're kind, they're caring, they're discerning, they're hypervigilant. There's a lot of movies that have been out about survivors, Split, and Manchurian Candidate, things like that. They kind of portray them as scary, as monsters, as murderers. That's usually not the case. That can be the case, but that's nothing I would be fearful of. I used my knowledge from school. I used my knowledge that I got from my aunt about her DID, about her alters, and I was just a mom, and that's all I had. There's not a lot of help out there. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's telling the truth about it. There are some survivors that are coming out, and they're saying they're survivors, but they're not acknowledging their DID. They're not acknowledging the alters. They're not acknowledging the MK Ultra. Everybody's glossing over it. Everybody's setting up camp at the sex trafficking, and I think that's a distraction to keep you from looking further, because when you see how far and deep this goes, you'll never be the same.